The Rain Collector, English spoken story told with a Dutch accent. A gentle story about a Dutch girl listening to the rain, to silence, and to the quiet truths that shape our lives. In the small city of Zwolle, where the canals thread quietly through the old town and the rain speaks in many dialects, lived a woman named Elise van den Berg. To most of her neighbors, she was simply the quiet woman in the corner house, polite, self-contained, and always listening. But Elise had a secret devotion. She collected rain. It began after her husband, Thomas, had passed away 3 autumns earlier. The silence that followed his absence was not just in the rooms, but in the rhythm of her days. Rain was the only sound that seemed to understand her. It filled the spaces he left behind, softening the stillness. Elise began setting bowls and jars in her garden, each one tuned to a different sound. A porcelain bowl for the delicate drizzle, a wooden basin for a heavy downpour, and glass jars for the soft, rhythmic rain that came at dusk. She did not collect water, she collected moments. Each rainfall captured the memory of its own mood. Autumn. The first rains came early that year. Elise sat by her window, the candle flickering beside her, and listened to the drops on the roof. Each one carried something familiar. The scent of wet leaves, the faint echo of Thomas laughing as they once walked the dikes together. She wrote in her notebook, "The rain tonight is tender, like a memory that refuses to fade." The neighbors often saw her walking barefoot in her garden, face turned towards the sky. Children asked why she did it. "Because every rain is different," she'd say. "Some speak of sorrow, some of joy, but they all have something to say." As the weeks passed, Elise began to hear more clearly. The rain seemed to speak in layers, one voice for the earth, one for the air, and one for her own heart. When she listened long enough, the words inside her quieted. The grief did not vanish, but it began to change shape, like mist dispersing in morning light. Winter. In December, the rain turned cold and sharp. The canals edged with ice, and the wind carried the smell of smoke and damp stone. Elise continued her ritual, moving her bowls beneath the eaves. The raindrops were slower now, heavier, each one a tiny pause. Sometimes she wondered what Thomas would think of her garden of vessels. He had been a man of structure, an engineer who measured everything precisely. Yet she liked to think he would understand. Rain, after all, was a kind of architecture, built not from bricks, but from rhythm and surrender. One night, as she cleaned the frost from a glass jar, she remembered the last words he'd said before he fell ill. "Promise me you'll keep listening to the world." Perhaps that was why she listened so intently, not just to the weather, but to life itself. A few days before Christmas, a child left a note at her door. "I like your bowls. They make the rain sing." Elise smiled. She had never thought of it that way. But it was true. Her collection was not a museum of water, but a quiet orchestra of sound and feeling. Spring. When the frost finally loosened its hold, Elise cleaned each bowl with care. The new season came gently, with silver mornings and light rain that smelled of soil and awakening grass. She planted violets along the edges of the garden, not to be seen, but to be smelled. She liked the way scent mingled with the rain. Her notebook filled quickly that spring. "Today's rain tastes of hope," she wrote. "The kind that comes when something broken begins to grow again." She began noticing how her own emotions mirrored the weather. Some days her thoughts felt heavy and gray, others they scattered like light rain on glass. But she no longer feared those shifts. Rain had taught her that change was natural, that no season stayed forever. One afternoon, as a light drizzle began, she heard footsteps at her gate. It was a young woman with a microphone, a journalist from the local radio station. "I heard you collect rain," the woman said. "May I ask why?" Elisa hesitated, then smiled softly. "Because when you listen to the rain, you realize it never falls the same way twice. And when you understand that, you start forgiving yourself for being different every day too." The interview aired a week later. Strangers began leaving small jars, bowls, and letters at her door. Some sent poems. Others simply wrote, "Thank you." Summer. By midsummer, Elise's garden had become a mosaic of sound and reflection. Visitors sometimes stopped by quietly, as if entering a chapel. She welcomed them with tea and the gentle rule that they must sit in silence for a few minutes before speaking. Many left changed, calmer, more attuned to the soft pulse of the world. One evening, the first storm of the summer arrived. Thunder rolled far away, and the rain fell in torrents, dancing in every vessel she owned. Elise stood among them, drenched, laughing through the tears. For the first time in years, she felt the boundary between herself and the world dissolve completely. In that downpour, she whispered, "Thank you." Not to anyone, not even to the sky, just to existence itself. When the storm passed, the air shimmered with freshness. Elisa walked barefoot through her garden, touching the rim of every bowl, every jar. She realized the rain she had collected all along was not the sky's memory, it was her own. Every drop she had listened to, every silence she had kept, had brought her closer to peace. She wrote her final entry that night. "The rain does not belong to me. It belongs to the world. My task was never to capture it, only to listen. And in listening, I have found what was lost." In Zwolle, the rain continued to fall as it always had, as it always would. But for those who passed by the corner house on quiet days, there was something new in the air. A kind of music that can only be heard by those who truly listened.